Hi guys. Let me know if you guys can hear me in the chat so I can get started. This might be one of the last lives I get to do outside. It decided to suddenly turn fall here. So it's actually a little bit chilly out. I brought a blanket just in case though. So yeah, hi. You can hear me then? This is good. Is it a good volume? I don't know. Hopefully the birds don't overtake me. They've been a little crazy. Oh, hello to everyone in the chat. Hi there, Miss White Swan there. Oh, we got, Robert. Hi, nice to see you, Robert. And Alexander, nice to see you. Glad to see you guys here. Okay, so I guess here we go, right? All right, so I got quite a bit to go over today. So what we're going to be going into today is how my dreams show up for me when I actually do remember them, and how they actually end up playing out, how the elements show up from the dream into my real life. Okay, now I'm looking at myself. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Let me check this. All right, let's just fix that. Okay, so the actual picture for this live stream is a French ad from back in the day, from the 1700s. Yeah. And what it says in French there, and we're going to get into why I chose this picture in a minute, but what it says is, the French people recognize the supreme being and the immortality of the soul. Okay, so now we're going to go into my dream, and I'm going to show you why that actually lines up with what I'm doing here. Because, the whole thing is as the blue fairy, they told me my purpose here was to make dreams come true. Well, and by making all my dreams come true first, well, one of the things that literally happens to me on a regular basis now is any dream I remember shows up somehow the next day. The elements always show up somehow the next day. Usually, some of them take a little bit longer to come to complete fruition. Those are usually the ones that were like longer, more vivid, detailed dreams, and usually those are actually like previews of future events that I'm going to be a part of. Like, many times I've had this happen. So here's the dream I had. Okay, and then we're going to go over it step by step, because I'm trying to show people that maybe this is happening for you. Maybe your dreams are not as, what's the word for it? They're not as tricky or symbolic sometimes, I guess you could say. I mean, it's still symbolic for me, but I mean, you're going to see. So let me just go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've been praying, like, God, like, what am I going to do this live stream about? Like, what am I going to do? Like, and so I told Spirit, like, you're just going to have to guide me, to tell me exactly what to focus on and what to talk about. And then they gave me this dream. And I'd already had a feeling of some of the things that ended up being tied into this dream, like where I was going to go with some of it, because they had been kind of talking to me about the stuff for a couple days. So I had this dream, and I knew, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. I'm going to wait and see how this dream unfolds, because it's definitely going to unfold. And then I'm going to be able to lay it out for people so they can kind of see what I mean when I say my dreams come true. Okay. So I had a dream that I was in a field. Okay, I was in what looked like a meadow or a prairie. It had like tall grass in it. Okay, and there were little paths that you could go on. You could drive through with I was in a go-kart, actually. I was not a golf cart. I was in a golf cart, and I was traveling with someone. Someone was to my right, but I could not see them, and I don't remember who it was here. And so we were driving around this field, and we drove past. They told me we were like up north, and we were driving past what had been a trailer lot, and the trailer had been demolished, and like there was actually like dirt over it, and the grass had grown over it. And they were saying, gosh, you remember, they told me it was the trailer from my mom's friends, my mom's friends from when I was a child. And they said, you remember when that trailer was there, and it was so full of dust and dirt, and like now it's gone and it's demolished, and thank God for that. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And so we were driving, And off in the distance, I could see my ex, okay, my daughter's father. I could see him, and he was busy doing something. He was going through, like, walking back and forth and moving some things. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And so then we go to turn to the left, and off in the distance, I can see a giant harvesting tractor, and it's like it's way off in the distance, but it's like, and it's getting up all the grass, whatever. And I'm like, okay, it's time to go. Like, I don't want to get caught by this giant tractor here. And as I'm getting ready to leave this area, I look down to my left, and I see in the grass. Oh, which reminds me, I forgot to bring that up. I see down in the grass, I see a doll. One of my daughter's dolls. It was a Moana doll. Okay, it was like this big, and she was holding another baby doll, and this baby doll was dressed in white, and it had like a little bonnet on, and I thought to myself, like, oh wow, wonder what that's doing there. So I immediately woke up, and I wrote down this dream, even though I don't usually even have the strength or memory, or like I usually just for like I'm like, oh, I'll remember it. I don't need to write it down. I'll remember it, and then I forget it. So this time I was like, no, I'm going to write this down. Even though I wrote it down, I still remembered it anyway. It was one of those things. So I remembered it. And, but one of the things I had written down, okay, um, was I couldn't spell Moana for some reason as I was writing it down so fast. And I spelled Mona instead of Moana. Okay. So I wrote down this dream. Let's see. Let's keep going. So now we're going to go over how all these elements from my dream appeared. Okay. And we're going to start with, like, how did I even, because I didn't even know how it was going to unfold. I never know how it's going to come to me. Like, sometimes it comes like right away, I wake up and then boom, the thing happens. That was just happening in my dream. So this time I was sitting there and I was thinking about all the things that Spirit had shared with me recently. And one of the funny things that I have written down here for some reason, one of the things that I always seem to accidentally type when I'm talking to people about live streams is I always accidentally sometimes type love stream, a love stream. And I'm like, well, I guess that's kind of funny because I guess it kind of is a love stream, if you are putting love into it, like that's what we're doing here, right? And I was thinking about the last live stream I did, and I was thinking again about the sacred marriage and all the things that I spoken on, and just the fact of the actual moment of what had actually happened with my heart, like how I get activated. Okay. And one of the things that they had told me about, that I was thinking about this morning, was the fact that they had told me during the moment, when this was even happening, they told me that it was similar to the ending of the Fifth Element. Okay. Now, the funny thing is that it was so similar to the fact of the Fifth Element that I even remember my guides at the time. They were, as this was getting ready to happen, as this monumental moment was getting ready to happen for me, they were like, tell her, Corbin, like just in the movie, tell her, Corbin. I'm like, oh my God, like, what is about to happen? Like, what is this person about to say to me? That's going to be, what is going on here, But I didn't even follow my own rules. I told people in my last live stream, when Spirit gives me characters for you, it's your job to look that up. It's your job to go into detail and still figure out how that sinks in for you or whatnot, because I can see it, but it's more meaningful for people when they go and find it themselves. So I started to think about it. I was like, well, I guess I should go and follow my own rule and go and check out this scene that I had not rewatched since my early 30s, maybe even before then. It's been a long time since I've watched this movie. And so I went to YouTube and I watched the ending clip, okay? And it was a very powerful scene, and it was very significant and meaningful to me. And, as it does, it plays like another scene afterward, you know what I'm saying? And there was another scene that played afterward that like really lined up with it. And it was the scene where the opera singer, who's the blue lady, okay, she sings, and she's the one that actually is carrying the stones inside of her to help ignite this fifth element. Okay. She tells Corbin actually that, the fifth element, she's going to need your help. And not only she's going to need your help, she's going to need your love. And I had not, these things, I had not even thought about these things in so long. So I'm looking at it and I'm realizing, I actually did see my higher self once, and or my true soul's essence. I don't know which one you prefer. Like, see, I go to Earth Star Academy, and so we use specific terminology because of how it feels frequency wise when you're saying it. For higher self, it's true. Like higher self feels like it's something above you, like it's something like you have to work to attain type of thing. But really, your true soul's essence is something you just naturally are. So I happen to have seen my true soul's essence once, and it actually looked like the Blue Opera singer a little bit. Like not exactly. Like there was some different parts of the face. Like she had little ridges right here that she looked like an aquatic being almost, and she had like it looked like little breathing holes right here on her. But she was very beautiful and dainty face, and she had what looked like tubes, like just like in the Fifth Element, she had tubes kind of coming out that looked like her hair. That came all around her. And so I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So there's, my heart ding, whenever these things happen, whenever it's something that's meaningful that spirit wants me to pay attention to, I can feel it inside me. Because it will stand out. It'll stand out. It'll stick with me. Okay. So I noticed this similarity. All right. Again, like, and here's the thing. This is why I kind of feel like, because, Lilu, the main character who is the fifth element, she is actually connected to this Blue Opera singer character and feels her passing. Like that was really the traumatic thing for her that made her question her mission, was when this opera singer character died and they had to remove the stones from her, so she was holding the four elements, the stones of the four elements to activate the fifth element. Okay. And so the fifth element, she kind of lost her motivation to do her job, so to speak, which was to save life on Earth, in the universe, actually. Okay, so let's keep going. So we'll get to the rest of that part and how that's going to connect later on to how one of my characters is the fifth element. You know what I'm saying? But I really want to focus on connecting it to the dream right now. So the thing that really perked up to me too was that the Blue Opera singer actually referred to Lilu as the supreme being. And I totally forgot that that's what they had called her in the movie, that she was the fifth element. She was the supreme being. Um, and she was sent to protect and save life in the universe from this big ball of black density, evil, whatever it is you want to call it, that was headed towards Earth. Okay. And where had I heard this term before, the supreme being? Because this was an important term for me, and I'll tell you why. And it was because some years ago, I've always been fascinated by past lives and past life stuff. So I would say late 20s, I guess you could say, I was doing some past life uncovering when it came to French lifetimes. Okay, I was married to someone at the time, and they told me that that's where we had known each other from. And this person actually told me that they were Robespierre. Okay, so I'm like, oh, interesting character to choose, but okay, so you were Robespierre. All right. So one of the things that I uncovered at the time that was so just very, very interesting to me, okay, was that Robespierre actually had tried to create a state religion, okay, and that state religion was called the Cult of the Supreme Being. Okay. Now, what he thought that this supreme being was a deist god who created the world according to natural laws. That's what I'm all about. Okay. What's natural, how God's will naturally works in this world. Okay. The purpose of this religion was to educate the people and to teach them morality and virtue. The high point of the movement was held in Paris and other locations in early June. Actually, and the reason why it stuck out in my head so much and I remembered it so much, it actually happened on my birthday. Okay, it happened on June 8th, 1794. But more specifically, okay, it was supposed to be happening on the 20th day of the prairial season. Okay, now just as a side note, I really do think that, in my opinion, when even back when I read this, I already had a little bit of knowledge of the Lull of One, okay, but not too much. I'd already have been like obsessed as a young child, obsessed with Ra, okay, and the sun god in Egypt. Like I used to, as a little girl, I was in middle school, I was a librarian, and I would go and I would take all the Egyptian books, any book I could find on ancient Egypt, especially if it had writing or cartouches and how to teaching you how to write the alphabet and stuff. And quite honestly, I would steal them. I stole the books. I'm sorry. I'm admitting that now. I'm sorry, middle school. I'm sorry. I even drove past it today. I'm like, oh God, I stole the books. But anyway, so I was obsessed with Egypt, with Ra, okay, with the supreme being ideal, okay, because I think that what the supreme being really was, what he was really trying to bring about, was the ideal of the one and infinite creator of love and light. That's just my personal opinion, okay. So from here on out, I went to double check my facts, as I always do, okay, as I was thinking about all these things, and I was thinking, and I was looking it up, and it confirmed all the things for me. Okay, that yes, it happened on my birthday. Yes, it actually was supposed to be. It wasn't every year on my birthday. It was supposed to be on the 20th day of the Parial month. Okay, this was a French word that I did not know. Okay, but it was in blue. You know how they have the little clickable words in blue on the Wikipedia. So I clicked on it, and I found out that the word actually means, in French, the word actually means prairie or meadow. So there's the first element of my dream showing up. Okay. So the second part, continuing with the article, okay. Oh, we got a quote. So I continue on reading the article. I just read about the festival. So you can go and look it up. You just search the cult of the supreme being on Wikipedia. You'll be able to find this information that I'm sharing with you. Okay. And here was the quote. It said, oh, a little red bug. Hey, you, get off of here. Okay. So it said, while earlier revolutionary festivals were spontaneous, the Festival of the Supreme Being was meticulously planned. Mona Ozoff has noted how the creaking stiffness of the event has been seen by some to foreshadow the sclerosis of the revolution. Okay, so there's my second dream element. All right, I'd accidentally written down Mona instead of Moana. All right, and Mona happens to be mentioned at the very end of this little snippet about this cult of the supreme being, because this is what I was getting ready to do during the day. They're showing me, okay, like, you're already kind of pre-planning it. All right, so let's keep going though. So that's the second part. Okay, so now what else continues to happen for myself throughout the day? Well, my ex, he just happened to be going through the house that he's living in that used to be my childhood home. All right, like, it was my mom and my stepdad's home that we had moved in together at that house, and they gave us that house. And it really had gotten just overrun. It was just, there was no fixing it with all the children in the house. It was impossible. And so he was going through my old room, and he was cleaning out all the stuff. So no doubt it was dusty and dirty, just like the trailer that was demolished in my dream. It was a childhood home, like a friend's, my mother's friend's childhood home. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, because that home that he was cleaning out was also one of my mother's homes. Okay, and connected to her in that way. All right, so he tells me he was going through the house, all right, and he found something that he wanted to give to me. Okay, so when he gets to me and he sees me, he gives me this picture. Okay, now I forgot to bring out the picture. I wanted to bring it, so I want everyone to hold on for a second because I am going to go grab it. Okay. So he tells me he found this picture. Okay. Also, by the way, he's a golfer, so that was just kind of funny, golf cart driving around, because that's what me and him used to do. We used to drive around on the golf courses together. And he hands me this picture. Okay. This was the Moana doll holding the baby in white with the bonnet. So, and I just think it's kind of funny too, the way it's in green too, considering that's what I was looking at when I went to go see the Moana doll. It was in a field of grass, green grass, right? So that is the fourth element of the dream that showed up. So we're up to 4 now, right? Another little side note that's kind of funny too is that one of the characters that I've given my mom, all right, is the grandmother from Moana. Okay. Now this picture is from when she was younger. Okay. So what would the grandmother from Moana look like if she had a picture when she was younger? Well, she'd probably look like Moana, So again, here's another part of my dream showing up. Oh, I'm covered in glitter now. Okay. So, and the last element, the fifth element of the dream coming, okay, was the harvest. The harvest is coming. The harvest is coming. That's all about the law of one. That's all about Ra. That's all about the supreme being, really, the one infinite creator of love and light. All right, so what's more ways? Okay, yeah. So that's how that dream showed up for me, okay? But actually, when I stop and think about the fifth element, I can actually tie it to an even more important dream of mine, all right? And the dream that I can tie this to was my most important dream, which I have talked about before, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and go over it again because I know I probably have people out there that have not heard the story. So in my most important dream, and I'll try to give the shorter version of it, but I'm gonna tell it to you guys. So I'm getting distracted by the chat. Sorry, guys. Okay. This is why I can't look at the chat while I'm doing these. I'm really sorry. I look at them at the end though. Okay. So thank everyone for being here. I thank you guys. Please hit the like button. Don't forget to do that because I know I always forget to do that sometimes. So anyway, so my most important dream was around the time that my soul braid walk-in came to me. Okay, around the time that most of my dreams that have actually come true now, the actual, even the sacred marriage event that activated my heart, they gave me so many dreams about this event for 4 years. They were talking to me about this event. And in this most important dream, I was traveling with a group of companions and we were chasing a storm, a ball. It looked like a giant ball. It was black goo twisting with pink light inside of it. Okay. And it was just shape shifting, this ball. Okay. And I was sliding down on a silver cord and I was dressed like Ruby Roundhouse from Jumanji. And I had my hair that was like the Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. It was blonde and it was braided in the back. And I got trapped in this storm. I got trapped inside of it. And I remember swinging down into it and the barrier formed around me. And I knew that this was a risk that I took in the dream. I was so devastated, but I also knew it was a risk I took. I knew that I was not going to see my companions again. And I was devastated, absolutely devastated. And everywhere I turned, terrifying creatures would appear from shape-shifting from this black goo that was in this ball. It took me forever to finally move around and get myself actually even moving. I was so paralyzed. And that was when the light of God came in and he shone over here and he said to me, but little did she know, everything she feared she created. It would only take her millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of years to figure this out, that her children were always safe in my hands. And then the storm dissipated and I was reunited with my companions. So what this dream told me, okay, and when I asked them specifically, like, well, how many is millions and millions and millions and millions of years? How many, and they told me 500 million. Okay, so that was a little upsetting. But how does that connect back to the fifth element? Well, I was chasing a black ball. Just like the evil thing that is coming to destroy the planet in the fifth element. And what was it that needed to happen in order to destroy that ball? Well, she needed to be activated with love. Okay, because when she is activated, her heart actually streams out. Love streams out. Okay, the 4 elements combined with the fifth element, which is spirit, which is ether, okay, which is the one and infinite creator's love and light inside the body. All right. And it streams out and up and it destroys the black cloud, and the black cloud, the black ball is just dead after that. It's dead. And that kind of reminds me of my most important dream where the storm finally dissipated. I mean, even a light came in from above me. So it was like, okay, okay. So I mean, just doing more contemplation on this. I was sitting there over the weekend on Saturday and I was listening to another stream, and it finally was sinking in, like, the thing that I had fought and been in so denial about, was what the spirit, the gifts of spirit, what that gift really was. That gift was true love, and that's a scary thing sometimes, I think, to accept inside of yourself. It's hard to believe, I guess. I did not believe it. I mean, I felt it, but I was still like, like, what is this for? Like, okay, this is just for me. This is just for me, right? And so they told me that this gift was actually true divine love. And then it hit me. It hit me so powerfully, because what I realized then, and what they reminded me of, was the fact that that was the whole reason that I even wanted to know what a twin flame or a genetic equal was because I thought, if I'm going to be able to grant and manifest these things for people, if I'm going to help people with this, I have to know what that is inside me. I have to have that gift first in order to give it. And that's when I realized, like, wow, like, they really gave this to me so that I could share this with others. Because how else is a wish granting fairy going to grant one of the most requested wishes? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what people long for, is true love. How is someone who has the mission and the job of helping people with that, how does she do that if she doesn't have that within herself already? And that's the other thing about the ending of the fifth element that I had not known. I had not paid attention to. I did not know the details, so I followed my own rule, and I went back and I rewatched this ending. And in that ending, she says, the thing that she needed, as she's sitting there and she's crying, she's saying, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Why bother protecting life when I see what you do with it? I was built to protect. I wasn't built to love. But that's the thing that she needed. Okay. And it's once she's given that she feels like, okay, yes, I can do this. And that's literally what I've been asking for. That's literally what I keep coming back here and telling you guys that I was longing for. I was longing to feel my heart again. And I hadn't in so long. I felt little blips of the possibility of that feeling, you know what I'm saying, as they were healing my heart up. But it took me years just to even get back to that point, because I wasn't even feeling happiness. I was feeling caring. I was feeling responsibility, but I wasn't, I had no friends, I had no one but my children, no music, no nothing, just lost my career, lost my house, lost everything at the time. I was just so broken. And this really, they rebuilt me. They rebuilt me from the ground. Okay. Okay. So let's keep going though. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So yeah, that was a very powerful scene. It was very, very moving, and it just so happens that this all sank in finally, really sank in on, wouldn't you know it, 9/17. 9/17. Can't get away from 9/17. Like, they just load me up with those patterns. Oh, and that reminds me. Yeah, that reminds me. The pattern room that I told you guys about in the astral from last week. Well, I thought it was really funny that when I went to go check the pattern room in the astral that later that day, there were so many people in it. There were so many people here in this room. And I was like, wow, like, so my message is going to get out to people, and people are going to go and look at this room, like, so I just want to thank anyone who decided to take the opportunity to pop into astral and go check out my pattern room that's in the Harry Potter school that I go to up there. So somewhere, I don't know, somewhere. Okay. So, all right. So that gets the dream portion of this done for right now. We're going to keep going though on some other things. really nervous about doing all this today, guys. I'm like, oh, I love it. And I simultaneously, it's like, ah, oh, can I do it? Yes. Yes, I can. So here I am. So the other thing I wanted to talk about that I had mentioned on the little flyer that I made about what we were going to talk about here was I wanted to talk to you guys about what it started to look like and feel like for me when my light body began to start activating. Okay, because it's time. You might not realize how subtle it is that these things happen or what it even takes to inspire these things to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you how it started happening for me. All right, so so I was doing, and mentioned this before, I actually did a course in miracles. Okay, just the workbook. I never actually read the book. I just did the workbook. And the only reason I even did the workbook was because I had accidentally purchased this book on my Kindle, and it was called A Course in Miracles Made Easy. Okay, and in one of the chapters, the guy just hammers it down, like, just do the workbook, because it was only a page a day, and it gives you a little homework assignment, and it asks you to self-reflect. Okay, so I got to a point in my self-reflecting where I started to come to terms with the difference between who I am and what behaviors I was taking. Okay, because who I am, the true core of who I am, was not the the behaviors of the programs that this human vessel had acquired from the lifetime of experiences she had had, and the examples that she was given of this is how you act human, type of thing. And so I was doing some self-reflecting, and I thought to myself, God, I just said, look at the mess I've made of my life. Look at what my own thoughts and feelings, look what it has created. Look at the hole I'm in at this point. And I said, you know what though? I said, if I could, I ask you, God, to just take all my own thoughts and feelings from me and replace them with your thoughts and feelings. Yes, that's what I want to do. I just want to live for you, God. I just want to know what your thoughts and feelings are. And I got a confirmation that this was actually the right move not that long ago on a Journey to Truth podcast with this woman who passed away, Valerie. I don't remember her last name now, but she actually talked about that. She talked about giving your ego over basically to your higher self or your true soul essence. And I all these things, this is what's so beautiful about just naturally going inside and following that natural instinct. Because when you get these confirmations later on, they're so much more powerful. They're so much more meaningful when they come to you in these ways. They come unannounced, so to speak. So this woman she basically gave that example, and she said, if you can ask your higher self to come and take over the vessel, kind of. So that is what I'd asked to do. Okay. And I think that made a huge difference. I think that was one of the turning points, because my heart's desire for that was true, sincere, and authentic. And so I just offer that gift to you guys, and I just say, like, you should do that. You should do that too, because your true soul's essence, God, the God part of you, they can see around corners you can't. So while you sit there in your egoic mind and you think, I want this thing and I want that thing, and if I just had this, it would make me happy, like, you can't see that long distance like your higher self can. You can't see that longer distance like God can see for you. So when you give yourself over to God and God's will, okay, they can see that for you. And then they can bring you the things that God knows will actually make you happiest. This will make, because that's the thing I've been asking for this whole time. Just what's true, what's meant for me, and what is in alignment with my timeline of highest love and joy for me and all of Earth's creatures, right? Because I'm an elemental being, and I've been here for 500 million years. I'm the blue fairy. Fairies are elemental beings. Okay, the fifth element, like that, an elemental being. All right, that is what I am. Okay, so one of the first physical experiences I had of my light body starting to activate, okay, was when I was actually driving again, a lot of these things happen to me when I'm driving for some reason. I just feel like it has something to do with having the body be occupied, and then the mind can kind of let the things come in, let receive the message. All right, so I was sitting there and I was contemplating scalar toning because I had recently joined some classes taught by Matthew Mornian at the Multidimensional School of Intuition, which I highly recommend that you go and follow and take classes or the training program or join the Blue Flame Collective group meetings, which I'm a part of, because I knew that scalar toning was the real deal already, and I'll tell you why, and it's kind of embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you how I know this. Okay, because when I was a little girl, all right, I used to have a problem going pee for some reason. I just had a hard time getting it to turn on. All right, so what I would do is I would go pee 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 like this, and I would do this tone, and then that would turn it on. So I already knew that scalar toning was a real thing, that this was stuff that works. This is another reason why I started following Matthew. All right, so I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about this article that I'd seen saying that, if you take a blade of grass and you cut it and you zoom in on it or whatever, that the scalar frequencies of this blade of grass actually show up as smiley faces. And that's part of the reason why grass is planted everywhere. It's to keep you calm and to keep you feeling happy and things of that nature. So I was sitting there and I was thinking about how does that even work? Like, what is scalar toning and scalar frequencies? What does that even mean? What is the concept? How do I feel the concept in me? And when I was doing this, okay, I literally felt a buzz inside my head. It would bzz, okay, and I was like, well, that's weird, and I stepped out of my car and I grabbed my phone and I'm walking across the street to go to the door to pick up my kids, and I looked down at my phone and there's a pink light, like some pink light was reflecting off of this phone. And then I realized, oh, it's not just on my phone, it's pink light, it's all over me, it's reflecting off me. I look up at the sky and I'm like, it's not sunset or anything, like why is there pink on me, you know what I'm saying? And that's when I realized that it was coming from me. This pink light was coming from me. No one else could see it, but I could see it. And I didn't even know this at the time, but one of the things we went over in the upcoming classes that I took was chakra color scale. Okay, and I had always heard that the crown chakra was purple, but for the first time here at this class at this school, all right, they had a picture and it showed actually the crown chakra being pink, and I thought, oh wow, so was that a crown chakra activation? And I really do think it was. Okay, so really, my point of telling is because I think that it's just reflecting, okay, just doing the contemplations on what these things actually mean is enough for spirit to try. That's like enough of the effort or the determination for spirit to be like, okay, we will show you. Like that's one of the main things my guides always get on me about, actually, is that they can't just tell me things. They tell me that I have to come up with the right questions for them to give me the information that I need. So it takes me a while sometimes to figure out the questions, but so I just really highly suggest, think about these things, think about these concepts, things that you don't, like you hear the word, you think you understand it, you know what I'm saying, but go inside and think about it. Okay, you never know what could happen as a result of it. All right, and not only that, okay, but the other thing that was really important about the Course in Miracles that I did not realize at the time was that the meditations and the daily self-reflections, the little they would give you like this is the point of, like, this is the theme for today, and we want you to think about this theme, and here's how you want to think about it. And what that actually did, because it was a whole year workbook, it was 365 assignments, okay, and it's a compounding effect. All right, this compounding effect was actually training my subtle energy awareness and perception. Okay, subtle energies are just like the whispers of the heart. Okay, the subtle energies around you, all right, are what you want to tune into in order to increase your psychic gifts and your psychic awareness. All right. I know people get overwhelmed though. They get overwhelmed with the time. How long is it going to take? They can get discouraged, like a whole year, and like it's going to take a whole year just to get to the certain point. Like that's just, oh, it's too much, People just get really, they get distracted or discouraged by how much is actually possible to create in a year. But stop thinking about time and what you want to create in terms of that. Think longer term, okay? Because instead of a year, think about 5 years. It's okay if it takes that long to do these things, because think of where you were 5 years ago. Now, you might not have been in a much different place, a much different person a year ago, but think about 5 years ago, So the more time and effort you put into these things, just like wanting to do anything really good, it takes practice, it takes determination, it takes consistency, it takes discipline. All right, it takes diligence. Okay, all these things that you really just, those are called the spirits of Christ. Those are some of the spirits of Christ, and the mind is the house for these spirits. Okay, there's 7 of them. All right, now when those houses aren't taken care of properly, okay, that's what leaves room for demonic possession. That's what leaves room for demonic energies to come into these houses. All right, and that's why it's so important, because the black mind creates the black heart, and that's what they want to happen, to crush the high heart of the starseed. Okay, and so what you have to do is you have to ask for the spirits of Christ, for the houses to be cleaned out, so that the spirits of Christ may come to reside in them again, which is your true right, your inheritance. It's your inheritance, and yeah, that's part of what I've been doing recently, because I'm not perfect, okay, and I definitely have things that I have to work on, because being 3D human is a lot different than being in my astral star being state, which I love to be in. And I could spend all day, every day up there, playing in the astrals. But what about the work? What about the mission here on Earth? I have to get focused on how to bring this in to the 3D so that it's translatable, so that people can pick up on it, and so people can use what I've been given, the gifts that they gave me to share with this planet. I need to be able to figure out how to do that. So you start doing that by, specifically for me, I asked for help with diligence and discipline. I needed to reform that, redo my routines, and it's working. Okay. Oh, let me just take a break for a second. Oh, okay. All right. Let's just stop for a second. I want to say hi to everyone in the chat again. Hi, Greg. Hi, Barry. Hi, Dennis. Hi, Trevor. Oh, yeah. Nice to see all of you guys here again. Not actually going to read the comments yet, though, because, like I said, I get distracted too easy. I got a point. I got a thing to stick to, okay? So, the next part that I wanted to get into was more of parts work, okay? Now, this is another way that I have learned to begin the process of healing myself and restoring myself to my original template, okay? Which is the template of the Hermos Gamos union for the planet, I guess you could say. Like, the original angelic template, all right, which is supposed to be for all people, okay, not just me. Like, this is something that we all were robbed of, and we have to fight to get it back. We have to work on ourselves to get it part of what being here is all about. All right, so I have this ideal because I'm a big Doctor Who fan. All right, it's like my favorite series of all time. Like, it's so much disclosure, and it taught me so much just even about myself, and has given so much inspiration on things that I want to do and how I could help people. All right, and what I think, actually, and the reason I came up with this is because when they gave me my new heart at the first Gifts of Spirit ceremony on December 20th, 2020, okay, they gave me the blue crystal heart. All right, it was like a box. It looked like it was the 7-sided irregular figure that is the chestahedron. Okay, and well, what is the TARDIS? The TARDIS is a blue box. Why do they keep it that way? Why is that the case? And so I really think, honestly, that the heart is your time traveling device if you can get that activated properly. Okay. Not sure what that's about. Okay. Well, okay, so yeah, I actually know what that's about now. Okay, so my human design actually is to seek out faulty foundations and to blow them up so that they can be rebuilt stronger. That's just something I'm naturally attracted to doing. Okay, so the first thing that I had to do was go and rip up all the foundations of things that I built myself on, things that I thought that I was, stories that I had built my life around. All right, and what I did was I sat inside my heart, okay, and I would think about the incident and I would go back in time in my mind. I go back in time. I use my heart, my intention, my mind here, and I go back to that moment, that traumatic moment. And I would use my new perception of who I am now and what I know myself to be. And I will rewrite the foundation that I built by telling myself the correction, by telling myself back at that point in time, what the truth actually was that I got wrong. Okay. Um, yep. Hold on one second. Because here's the thing: all children, children, they in order to survive, they have to be egocentric. Okay, that's just part of the survival mechanism about these human vessels. So what they do is they make everything their fault. Every traumatic event somehow is their fault in some way, and those are the traumas that you pattern out, okay, into your future adult life. Okay, those are the patterns that you'll keep, the pains that you'll keep coming up against. And I can find it so easy. That's why I wish people would come to me and share their stories and stuff with me, because I will very easily be able to help you figure out, okay, let me see what the pattern is and how that has been playing out for you. Okay, because I can see it. It's very easy for me. And so by going back in time through your heart and your mind and correcting this, all right, that is it's going to have a ripple effect out into who you are now. All right, because time does not work how you think it works. It is more like a circle. That is what they've always told me. Okay, what they told me when they told me who I was, and it stuck. You know what I'm saying? And I've just been working with it ever since. It makes sense to me as a time traveler that if time is actually like a circle, it would make sense how we are even able to go back in time and drop little patterns off here and there and to create these new things, these new positive timelines, so to speak. All right. So the example I want to see, because I'm like, I got to give kind of give an example, don't I? Right. All right. So one of the first things I did, okay, the first time that they came to me and they broke open my heart basically in order to clear out the dead light that was around it. All right, was that they took me to my darkest childhood memory. Okay. Now I had already shared some of the traumas that I've been through in my last live stream about when I was 12 with my mother and everything like that. But what I had not even made the connection to at this point, was the fact that I actually ended up reliving the same trauma as my mom, and that was the dark childhood memory was having been hit, okay, in a way to where it literally bruised my face. But I wasn't 12, I was 3, okay, and I couldn't remember it, and I had to rely on my mom to tell me this, which I know was hard for her. And I forgive her completely. Okay. Because this is how I was able to find the root of the issue between me and my mother, and why I felt so disconnected from her was because of this incident from when I was 3. Because, and here's the thing. So God tested her and they put her in the exact same situation as she had gone through. All right. But instead, she made a different choice, which was a beautiful thing. Okay. Because for her, when she went through this traumatic event, her mother and her father, they didn't do anything about it. They didn't apologize. Nothing got said. All right. No justice. All right. But for me, my mom did take action, and she turned this person into the police and she left them. And, and thank God for that. So she had an opportunity to do it differently, to show her spirit, that I would do something differently if that was me. But at the same time, as a 3-year-old little girl, I doubt I was able to express myself in a way that communicated things that I like, because I've internalized that somehow as my fault. Okay, because that's what children do. They make things their fault. So I had to go back. I had to go back in time, and I sat with my child self, and I told her how she got it wrong. I told her how, she was loved. She was worthy of love. I could tell the feelings that I felt was like that I wasn't worthy of protection. I wasn't worthy of love. I wasn't. I wasn't. I felt like it wasn't what I had to say wasn't important for some reason. Maybe it was hard for her to listen, or it was just hard for me to communicate what had happened. I felt like a burden. So I had to start looking at the positive and correcting the ideals of those feelings. Okay, and I had to go back and I had to show my 3-year-old self that part of myself, like how to have compassion for my mother, because a part of me was very angry too. A part of me, was like, again, and I've said this in the live stream, like I was angry. Like, how could she leave her most precious possession with someone who could possibly do this to her? She never planned on that. She never thought someone would do that to a child that she was with. That never occurred to her in her mind. But as a child, we hold on to these things even if we don't know it, and we put it back there somewhere. And then again, we keep reliving these patterns of feeling like we've been betrayed, feeling like we've been unloved, and I just really want to put an end to that, because parents, they love the best they can. The problem is that we've had so many cycles of brokenness, all right, that they just, we have to be the ones to fix it and to clean it up at this point. Okay, so let me see what I got going on here. So yeah, this is how I feel like the heart is a time traveling device, because with our mind and our consciousness and our heart, all we have to do is close our eyes and focus on it. Okay? And that in itself is the time travel. That in itself is the time travel. Okay? And I'll tell you, I know that this has been working for me. I know it is. I have memories now of, like things that make sense now that didn't make sense back then. All right. So I really want you guys to test that out. Okay. I have written down here, I'm a Virgo moon. Okay. So this means that, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. All right. And no one knows my faults better than I know my faults, quite honestly. Um, Being a Virgo moon, you never feel like you're doing enough. The inner critic in me was quite harsh, and they would just sit there and it would go over all the things that I'm not doing, that I should be doing, that I'm failing at doing, and just, it would, what it would do, it would literally paralyze me. It would make me feel so bad about myself, and it would paralyze me that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't create anything in that state. Okay, I couldn't create. Feeling bad about yourself is not a powerful motivator. Okay, and it kept me paralyzed for many, many years. But now, if we look at the power of love, that's completely different. You know, like, feeling bad about yourself is not inspiring, but feeling good about yourself, feeling like it's okay, you're good enough just existing the way you are, how you are right now, like, that is such an important key to figuring out what you're meant to do, what your strengths are. How do you figure out what your strengths are if you don't feel like you're just okay to just exist? you know So one of the ways that I started using this inspiration, okay, now that I started realizing, okay, maybe I can let go of those bad things. Maybe I don't need to be so harsh on myself. Maybe I'm good enough the way I am. Because again, I would look out there to other people and I'm like, I'm not harsh on them like I am on myself. I don't sit there and here's the thing. If I was at some point in time, it was only an inner reflection. It's always that you're always seeing in others what is in yourself, or what is most prevalent you need to be dealing with. Okay. And that's why I try to look for the beauty, and I try to look for the love in all things, because that's what creates the most space inside of you. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Sorry, feel some energy coming through there. Whew. Okay. So one of the things that I started using, okay, this inspiration for, this new power of love that they had given me at this event, okay, was making what I call creation spreads. Okay, now what I do for these creation spreads, and you can try, now people call them altars, I guess, sometimes too. All right, now what I would do is I would take a collection of the things that I love, and I would make a pretty little scene with it on my kitchen table, just something that got my creative juices flowing for some reason. And I'll tell you what, the things that I would put in this scene would start showing up in my life, because I used to, and I know this because I used to do them daily. Okay. And one of the examples that I have for you here today is one of the first creation spreads that I ever did. I'd gotten a dragonfly, this really, really large dragonfly brooch, and I had put it in the creation spread. And I also had a beetle, a scarab beetle. Okay. And I put that into the creation spread. And the very next day, as I'm sitting out on my porch, the biggest dragonfly I'd ever seen in my life, still to this day, came flying right up next to me. And I was like, oh, there's the dragonfly from my creation spread, you know? And wouldn't you know it, just a couple hours later, well, here's a tiny little scarab beetle. He was actually stuck in a spider web. And I physically, he was like crying for help to me. He was like, help me. And this spider was trying to wrap him around and like, weaving all around him. And I got, I was like, at first I was like, that's nature, like, I'm sorry, dude, like spider's dinner here, guy. But I felt bad and I couldn't watch it anymore. So he was, crying. So I get this little beetle out and I literally had to undo the spider web by hand, which I don't like touching bugs really, but I was willing to do it for this guy. And I undid all the spider webs and I put him in my little garden. He was quite happy there. It said thank you a lot. Yes, yes, because these creatures do talk to me. Okay, I'm a fairy being. They do talk to me. All right. So what I started to do, okay, since it took a lot of energy to make these creation spreads every day, so I started actually focusing them on just these events that I was going to go to. Okay, these conferences. And what I would do is I would put together the scene of what I would want to happen at the conference, okay, or a beautiful scene, and this is going to represent the conference or the event that I'm going to. All right, and then Spirit will send me a song. I call them heart songs. All right, but I always know when it is because of the way it feels inside me, because I have accumulated that compounding effect of attuning to my subtle energies, okay, to where I can tell by the way the song sounds and the way it feels inside me that this is it. This is the song. Okay. And songs are, there's more craziness about songs, and I'll get into that in another stream. But anyway, so I get these heart songs. I get these songs from Spirit about this event after I make these spreads usually. Okay. And after I make them, okay, I think about it. Every day I take some time and I dance every day. So I'm already doing this thing. And I take those songs and I will dance. Okay. And I will put my energy and I will put my intentions, okay, into this creation spread. And I will think about all the beautiful feelings and the experiences that I want to help inspire for the people at this event. Sometimes specific people, okay, sometimes not. Actually, probably both, and including myself, and I would think about these things and I would dance and I would focus on this creation spread and I would think about this event. And I think that part of the dancing, what it's doing is I think it's opening up a portal for my consciousness to go and to add my energy to this event somehow. This is just theories and hypotheses at this point. I don't have the scientific data to back it up yet, but this is what it's been feeling like to me naturally. Okay. So wouldn't you know it, all the things that I do for these creation spreads, it's just beginning more detailed, more extravagant, more powerful, the more I do these things. And all the things that I would think about, this even tiny little specific things. Like one time I wanted someone to compliment me on my hair, someone in the community. I had to dye my hair like it was like, my bright, bright blue. And I wanted this one particular person to comment on my hair being cool. And they did. They literally sat behind me. I heard them say it to another friend, and I was like, oh, wow, like it happened. That's just one little thing. There's so many more, but they're so intimate and personal that I don't even know how I would ever really share them too much here. But yeah, so this is what I've been doing with the inspiration that true love gave me. Okay, it makes me want to help other people experience this. Okay, so yes, it looks like I will actually be making some new creation spreads. Is that all? Wow, did I get through all of it almost already? Oh, sweet. Okay. So I guess there's only a couple things I have left to talk about real quick, and that is some upcoming things that I'm going to be doing. Okay. And like I just said, I actually have some creation spreads to make because I actually have a couple events that is coming up. I have one that is coming up in October that I'm going to be a part of. If you guys can get to come meet me, or I would love to meet you. I would love to see you there. It's going to be in Orlando. I can't remember the name of the conference though, but I am going to be at this event. Okay, so I am going to be making a creation spread for it, and they've already given me the songs for it, which is something unusual. They don't usually give me the songs beforehand, but they did. All right, so I'm quite excited about it. I'm also going to be doing some live streams when we're there. I'm going to be doing a live stream with Robert here in the chat. If he's still here, Robert Earl White. We're going to be doing an interview there on his channel. Maybe I'll be able to hook up mine somehow and do it from mine as well. Yay, hey there. So I'm going to be doing a live stream there. And I also have an upcoming live stream that I'm supposed to be on in the Multidimensional School of Intuition is supposed to be having me on, Matthew Mordian. Okay, so I'm supposed to be doing that on October 1st on his channel. All right, and then I actually have another interview coming up too that I want you guys to keep your eye out for. That is going to be with Robert Johnson. And oh man, I'm so bad with these name things. I'm really gonna have to. Okay, I don't remember the name of his channel, but you'll get the. I'm gonna put it out there, so don't worry, you will see it. All right, so I got a lot of things coming up. And I'm really excited to be sharing all this stuff with you. I really hope that this transmission came through clearly today. And I hope it made sense for people. And yeah, I guess I'm going to go ahead and look at the chat real quick. You know, it's so cold out here right now. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to do this live here because it was just, I woke up today. It was like 80 something degrees outside here. And then today it was 59 this morning. I'm like, this is Michigan. It's Michigan. That's what it is. All right. So anyway, oh, Barry always has to leave. I should do my stream earlier sometime so you can be here for the whole thing. Sorry, Barry. Hopefully you'll see this later. Bye, Barry. Okay. So yeah, yes, the fascia of the bodies. Yes, moving, dancing. I'm sure is part of what helped move that stuff around, the densities. Okay, so definitely. Just reading this. Oh, thank you for the compliment. Thank you, Dennis. This is really sweet. Oh, don't make me. Okay, stop. All right, we're going. All right, gotta calm down. So anyway, if there's any other questions, I'm probably gonna take off here in a minute because, like I said, it's kind of cold out here, and my daughter's coming back soon. But I really wanted to make sure I got out here and talked about this today because, like I said, they totally gave me this dream so that I could talk about it. Yes. And there's Matthew's channel. Yeah. Have a wonderful night. Yep, you too, Robert. All right, guys. I'm gonna have to read the chat after. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I'll get better at it in time, but I'm having a lot of fun. Yep, that's right. Elena did a show with them not that long ago. Miss White Swan. All right, guys. Okay, I'm like postponing this now, and there really isn't anything else that I have to talk about. So since no one else is asking any questions, which is fine. Yep. Catholicism is a son of a bitch, isn't it? Oh man. I actually was talking about that with Robert the other day when we were talking about some things. I was saying, like, what's so messed up about Catholicism? The thing that gets me is like how they used to say if you ate meat on Fridays, you were going to go to hell, you know? And then they changed it. They changed it so now you can eat meat on Fridays, and I'm just like, okay, well, what about all the people that they said they were condemning to hell, right? Like, makes sense, right? Like, all right. I love you guys so much. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Please share the video, so that my message can get out. I'm really excited to be doing these. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. I just really hope that I can help really reach some people out there and to really get this blue flame ignition started in the hearts of the people. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for this planet to become party planet Earth, because that's what I'm turning it into, because I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm ready to have a good time. So I'm going to go ahead and take off now, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate this. Just even having one person here is like, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. Can't believe it. All right. So bye. Bye, guys. All right. I'm going to leave. I'm really going to do it this time. I'm just rambling now. I'm just saying absolutely nothing.